Well, excited to do round two of ribs, and like I said, made the mistake of telling some friends, and now I got to make a bunch of ribs. So be careful who you tell and what's going on, because anytime you get the smoker going, people get excited. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put out some saran wrap just to make a workspace, and I'll start the smoker. I'll probably video that so you guys can see how it works, and then we'll go from there. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the components of a smoker, so I'm just going to show you real quick. I lined this one with tin foil. This is where the wood chips go. And then this one is where you put water in. There's a fire underneath the wood chips that help them to smoke, and the water chamber goes above that to help keep it from drying out too much. So if you'd like, I'll fill them up. I'll show you how it looks. I'm actually going to use different wood than I normally use and see how that works out as well. So this is what they look like filled. I used a combination of some of the Traeger wood pellets, which I'm never real comfortable with, but there was actually a sales guy the last time at Costco who he told me it is pure wood. I was concerned it was more like press board or something like that. And then the other one I filled up with water. So this one will go underneath, and I'll get the fire going while I work on trimming the meat. That way I can have it filled with smoke by the time I'm putting it into the smoker. So now I've gotten the fire going. I'm kind of excited. Costco really helped part of my job, the part I like the least. Not that I mind any of it. But there's this layer of fat on the back of most of the ribs that you want to peel off before putting them in, or else when you go to eat it, like you ever been at that restaurant where it's just kind of hard on the one side where the bone is. So we pull that off so that it isn't like that. It also helps the smoke to get in. The one other thing I'll mention is that I don't soak my wood chips. I know a lot of people do. The reason I don't do that is my understanding is most of the smoke flavor gets in the first hour or so of cooking. Well, I want to make sure that the smoker is as smoky as possible for that time frame in order to get into the meat as best as possible. So so I don't soak the chips because I get a better smoke. So here, let me show you. So this is what I wanted to pull off. You guys can see it. There's just this thin layer, and it's very tough. And it kind of, even as you see me pulling it off, it's not so simple to pull off. But you don't want that on there for when you eat, and it also again helps to get the smoke through. So I'm going to pull it off of the other ones. I'm assuming you don't need to watch me pull them off of all of them, and then I'll come back on. We'll get it in. We'll put some spices on, and we'll get it into the smoker. So now that I've gotten that all off, I'll show you real quick on one of these. All you have to do is season it real well, and then I'll season the other ones. We have 5 of them here, but and then we get them in the smoker, and I'll tell you where we go from there. So nice and even all over. And I'll probably bring it up to the camera real quick to show you. But we coat it generously. And all I'm using is some of the Kinder's Woodfire garlic seasoning. I've made my own a few times as well, but this one seems to work out great and it's easy to do, which I like. So see how nice and coated that is? I'm not sure on the camera if you can. But that's all there is to it. Pretty simple prep. So, like I said, I'll get the other ones going and then we'll get those in the smoker and we'll give them about 3 hours before I make a change and show you what I do from there. And now the Ron Pope or whatever his name was part, I kind of set it and forget it. I get the smoker set to about anywhere between 180 and maybe 220 at the top. So I really try to take it between 180 to 200. I'll give it 3 hours and then I'm going to bring you guys back to show you my trick of what I do to help keep it moist and tender. So it's about 9:30 now. Be back around what, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30. We'll take them out and do them for the last 3 hours. I just thought I'd show real quick what I'm looking for and see all that smoke billowing out. That's awesome. That's exactly what I want to get the meat all smoked and delicious. I assume you guys can see real well how much smoke is coming out To me, that's exactly what I'm looking for in terms of getting the meat nice and flavored. So hopefully you guys can see real well. I've done 3 hours in the smoker already, just ribs flat on there by himself. I now have laid out a piece of tin foil with a little piece of saran wrap under it. I used to do just the tin foil, but what I found is the bones kind of poke holes in it. And I'll show you what I'm going to do, which I know not everybody loves, but it's a great way to do it. I add some liquid into it. So what that does is it allows it to cook in the liquid, and it helps the ribs to get super tender. Um, Now feel free to play with the times. I do 3 hours of nothing and then 3 hours with liquid. I'm generous about the liquid, which is also why I don't want it to poke a hole. I want to make sure there's enough in there that it's cooking the juices and everything, and that gets the meat super tender. My wife really likes it where it's like fall off the bone. You know, those ones that you just kind of do this. What I find if I do 2 hours and then maybe 4.5 with the liquid, it ends up fall off the bone like that. I like a little more texture or bite to it. So I kind of like it with 3 hours in and 3 hours in the liquid. But you guys can play with it and see what you like. Really, all of it is up to doing it however you think. I promise, if you use the smoker and get the smoke into the meat, you'll be really shocked. Sometimes I'll add a little barbecue sauce as well for flavor. But to be fair, like even in the last video, we put it on the grill after with some barbecue sauce. I don't always need the barbecue sauce. The smoked flavor on its own is excellent. So there are plenty of times really that I'm totally happy once it comes out the smoker and it's completely done to eat it just like that. Anyway, I'm about to put them back in the smoker for the last 3 hours, and then we'll go from there. So it's been a total of 6 hours, just like I said, 3 hours without the liquid, 3 hours with it. I'm going to show you what I do from here. I take the liquid and I'm going to put it in this pot in case I want to make my own barbecue sauce. I use that, I cook it down from there to thicken it up a little. And then I'll show you how tender the ribs are right now. Like, they come out great. I've left a couple more in to get them a little bit more tender, just because, like I said earlier, it's how some of the people in my family like it. But this is how I like them for me. And then I'm just going to pour the juice right into this pot. And then I'll put the ribs in here and get rid of the tin foil and the saran wrap. And then just for demonstration, I'll show you. I'll just pull apart a few and watch. Watch how easily. Bam. Right in half. Just like that. See how soft and easy they are to pull apart and everything? So sometimes I cut them up into 1 or 2 pieces. That way it's easy to serve people from there. So I'll show you what we end up doing with them. We'll probably taste a few of them and see how they are. Thanks for joining. Subscribe, like, thumbs up, and stick around.